Thank you, Jennifer, for inviting me to share this story about Camp Watch Me and really give an update on what has gone on in the last 5 years. So, like you had mentioned, we started camp in 2019, and a lot has happened since. So, I'm excited to share about that. This here is our introductory picture. Um, Honestly, probably doesn't even require words. These are some really fun kids. We have great families and therapists who come out and support. And so, as you can tell, we like to have a whole lot of fun. I have no disclosures for this presentation. And all the photos and stories shared here are consented by the patients or their families. And this is all my original information. And it is all relevant to PTs, OTs, and all CLTs alike. So we'll have two focuses for today's webinar. The first objective being an overview and an update of the growth and development from camp over the last 5 years. There's milestones and expansions to highlight, and also to share some family camper stories. And then I also want to highlight how we include the community in various ways. It is not just parents and a couple of volunteers at camp. We rely on the lymphedema community and the network of support that it provides to host camp, to provide education and resources, and promote awareness. So if you're able to right now, and you're not driving or anything listening to this, I would like for you to close your eyes and take a deep breath in and slowly let it out. And while you're exhaling, I want you to think about your favorite place. Think about your favorite people to be with. And what are those people like? Do they understand you? Are they similar to you? Are there three of them? Are there 300 of them? All right. I want to take you guys to my favorite place.
Brittany Williams. I am the founder of Brylan's Feet Foundation. My daughter is Brylan. She was diagnosed with infant onset primary lymphedema when she was 11 months old. And through our journey of trying to find resources and even a diagnosis for that matter, I realized that there were no resources for children with lymphedema. I constantly heard stories of people in the United States and all around the world that couldn't afford treatment. And knowing that these kids had the same disease as my daughter, it broke my heart seeing that they couldn't obtain treatment. And I wanted to do something for them. And so in 2018, I launched Brylan's Feet Foundation. And Brylan's Feet Foundation is actually the first and only nonprofit specific to pediatric lymphedema in the world. In 2019, I got introduced to Betty Westbrook. And from there, our journey started. And she contacted me and said, I want to start a camp for kids with lymphedema. My name is Betty Westbrook. I'm a physical therapist assistant and a certified lymphedema therapist. And I am the founder and director of Camp Watch Me. And Camp Watch Me is this magical place where kids and parents and therapists come together and they get to learn from each other. It is an amazing opportunity. They get to come to camp. They get their own CLT, and each CLT does all the treatment. Each child gets 2 treatments a day, morning and night. And then during the day, they're wearing compression garments. So we really try to implement that gold standard of care. The parents get all the education sessions. We are providing specific education for the parents individually so they can learn what are the basics of MLD. What are the signs and symptoms of cellulitis? What is basic bandaging principles? So they get to practice those principles and have a watchful and trained eye, give them some feedback on their application. The kids get to have basically a quintessential summer camp experience while meeting other kids just like them, where they don't have to explain their differences. They don't have to explain why they're wearing a garment or why their limb is swollen or they look different. To where they're understanding that I'm not the only person who has to do this. Everyone else who's here at camp, they're wearing a garment, they're doing their bandaging, and they're playing. They're still having a really great time. Because although we do a lot of educational stuff at camp, we also do a lot of fun stuff. We go horseback riding, we go swimming, rock wall climbing. We do all the things that you would think of as a camp experience, and we top it off at the end with a campfire. So it's all really great fun. It's all really great education, and it really creates lifelong friendships that these kids otherwise would have never been able to have. It's just this amazing hands-on experience where the parents get to share in their triumphs, their struggles, and the kids get to do the same thing. And it's just created this really beautiful community for them.
Well, I can't show that video without saying thank you to Close Training and their production team with Corey and Gunter for producing that informational video. We have a full 45-minute documentary. If anyone is interested, it's on the Bryland's Feet YouTube page. You can check out that full 45 minutes. It gives the parents' perspective, clinicians' perspective, as well as interviews with our campers and kids. So this is a review to start with, and this is our first five. It all began in the spring of 2019. I was in an interview with a woman who has a product, and I asked if it was for kids, and she said no, that, it's really for older kids, maybe a preteen or teenager. And we started talking about pediatrics, and I was seeing my first pediatric patient in clinic at that time. And she said to me the words that I will never forget. And she said, there's a camp in Italy and it's for kids with lymphedema. Why don't we have one here in the United States? And it took just a matter of seconds before I realized that would be something that I would take on. And so I contacted Amy Rivera, who put me in touch with Brittany Williams. And 75 days later, we hosted our first five in Oklahoma. To date, we have seen major growth. So this photo here is just one of our sessions from Camp Watch Me. This is many more than just five families. We have partnered to publish a 5-year retrospective paper. One of our major milestones that we're very, very happy about is the increased family participation, and that we have now been able to bring on a full Camp Watch Me executive committee who focuses year-round on the planning and the coordinating of camp fundraising, camp marketing, camp curriculum, and all things camp 12 months out of the year. If you're like me, you like numbers and graphs, and this graph here shows the increase in our attendance over the last 5 years. So in 2019, this is our group of first five. We had one sponsor on site. That's the turquoise there at the bottom. We had no siblings who came with the parents or the kids. And I believe we had 2 volunteers, 2 CLTs, one being myself and another CLT, and then 5 parents and 5 campers. 2020, we all know what happened then. So in 2021, we vowed to double up our sessions so that no kid lost an opportunity to come to camp. So we essentially had summer 2020 and summer 2021 in the same year. So our numbers did grow quite a bit, but you can see here that they have continued to grow. And I'm really proud of this little heart here. If you look at 2022, that's really the first summer we had very many siblings come, and our projected numbers for this summer are more siblings than we've had attend before. And it's really important to get the whole family involved. Siblings and the kiddo that have lymphedema have an interesting relationship. Sometimes it's strained. And so seeing more kids come to camp and getting to meet other kids like their sibling and getting to learn from the therapist and the other families around how to kind of adapt to that and also kind of find their own personalities and their own selves while living with a kiddo, a sibling who has a chronic condition. We've seen that to be very valuable for our families. This slide here focuses just on parents and campers. So in the beginning, it was completely even, one kid, one camper. And so we have seen growth in that over the last many years that we have more parents coming as couples. And so this is really important because one of the significant strains of having a chronically ill kiddo, a kid with a chronic condition like lymphedema, is that one parent is generally labeled the caregiver or primary caregiver. This is the parent that attends all the doctor's appointments, does all of the bandaging, understands the daily routine, and it's often hard to let the other parent in to share that load, share that burden, share those responsibilities. And so we have seen a really important growth as far as it applies to the family dynamic of more parents and couples attending camp together instead of it being a way for the primary caregiver and the camper to go and get more information. It's really been inspiring to see more dads come along, more couples come along, and to see them take a more active role in the management of their kiddos' lymphedema. And I want to say it's not even just more active, it's also just having more confidence in what they're doing. So, empowering parents and empowering kids is what we love to do. And that goes along with giving them the confidence to be competent in what they're doing as far as their lymphedema management for their kiddo. So, in our expansions, this picture here is some of our really great volunteers from one of our sessions last summer. And so we have expanded to have sometimes 30 or more CLTs because we have so many sessions now. Camp originally was going to be a one-time summer camp um, session to where parents and a kiddo could come and learn about resources, the basics of CDT, and then, flourish and go and conquer the world. And though they would be great. And so then the second summer, we had families want to revisit. And so we're like, okay, well, we can make this work. And then that summer, we just had a conversation with them, and we have support group for our parents, and we were sitting in support group, and we just said, so what are you gonna do next summer? And they all kind of laughed, kind of this evil little giggle, really. And they're like, well, you're gonna promote where camp is, and we'll just find you. We'll just be here anyways. So we have three separate curriculums. Our first one is intended to be the basics of CDT and the management and understanding the anatomy and just we try to take what feels like drinking out of a fire hydrant and make it feel more like, a water hose or something that's more manageable. And then in our second session, we add specific, deeper topics. We cover medical trauma. We cover both male and female genital lymphedema. Shelly DeCecco champions that every single summer. She comes and she speaks to the parents and she speaks to the kids separately, boys and girls, in their own sessions. And so that's been a really vital role of how we have evolved our curriculum. And then our third time families for what we call our reunion group, we do curriculum in a little more laid back schedule, but we do curriculum so that they are able to learn how to identify good research. What is evidence-based information? What is something that they can trust whenever they're trying to learn about their condition or when they're even trying to educate their medical professional about their condition? We cover things on genetics. We also do advanced technique sessions. advanced fibrotic techniques and things like that. So we try to every summer increase their knowledge and their growth without making it seem like it's such a big thing to handle. And then every summer in that reunion group, we update our information. Another way that we've expanded is that we have added a full-time camp CLT. She's also a RN and a CLT, and she's also a mom, so of a pediatric lymphedema kiddo. So she really is the very best of both worlds for medical and lymphedema related. And so we have her for every session attend with us. And then finally, one of our new expansions and one that we're really excited to share, hopefully coming up soon, is our collaboration within the research community for data collection at camp and also using the data that we have been collecting for the last 5 years. I thought this would be a good time to introduce our executive committee. So Brittany Williams and I, we have been kind of running camp. It's kind of how it started. Me, Brittany, and Amy Rivera had started with planning the first session, and then it quickly kind of grew and we needed more help and more hands. So we now have Allison Rossi, and she is our education coordinator. She helps to get all of our curriculum together. She helps to update our topics and keep our CLTs in the loop who are presenting that summer. Brianna Couture, she's our CLT coordinator, so she provides the orientation to our CLTs, helps to provide hands-on training at camp, and as well as kind of like a float therapist role where any CLT who's not comfortable with pediatrics, who has maybe never seen them before, we go alongside them and we help them kind of gain some confidence in their hands-on technique. And then Katie, that's our nurse, and that's her son Kyle. They are lifers at camp. I think this is their, they've been here since 2021, so this might be their fourth or fifth year this summer. Sandra Dupree, she is an OT CLT. She is a lymphedema and lipedema patient, and she's also the mother of a child with lymphedema. And so she understands very well the dietary restrictions around a handful of medical conditions, not even just lymphedema and like PLE. So Sandra handles our dietary needs at camp and coordinates with our site. And then Sydney Jacobs is our PAL, which is our patient advocate leader. And so she coordinates with all of our patient advocates. Camp includes, like I've kind of mentioned already, that it's our entire lymphedema community. It's not just a couple of CLTs doing all of this. We need the help of parents. We need the help of the patients, the advocates. We all kind of come together to share our expertise for these kiddos. And this is a really good example of how it does come alive at camp. So this is one of our sessions where our CLT and the caregiver are getting a hands-on education session on kinesiotaping. And so our pals at camp, they provide speaker spotlights. Pals are adults who were kids with lymphedema. And so our patient advocate leaders is what we call them. They get to come up and give a speaker spotlight, and they get to talk about their experience as a child, their experience as an adult. And usually there's a pivotal moment in there where they said, I realized my lymphedema wasn't something that was necessarily a curse or a death sentence or anything that had to hold me down. And it happened at about the same time that they realized that their mom wasn't always going to take care of them. And so there's a time when they learned that they wanted to be independent, they wanted to go and have sleepovers, they wanted to do things on their own. And so they're always really encouraging to show kiddos that, it stinks. And I would like to use stronger language than that. But having lymphedema as a kid is hard, but having lymphedema as a kid is also a gift because you don't know any different. You grieve what you wish you had and what you think your life could be like, but ultimately They share that, this is a gift that they know that they can manage and they can gain support through the community that they're growing right now at camp and that they can grow as adults. And so they always leave a really strong impression on our kiddos. One summer, one of our pals shared about um, no longer being scared to shave her legs and how she had been really worried about cellulitis and all these things. And she had just shared that, like if you're ready to shave your legs and, you're at this age and you want to shave your legs, then you just have to be careful and wear your compression and make sure you clean up really well and use like the right tools. And a camper took that knowledge and went home and applied it swiftly and came out and informed her mom and everyone else that she had shaved her legs because her pal had told her, this is how you do it safely. So instead of being scared to do it, she took the information she had and she applied it and used it. So she was careful, she had the right tools, and she had the good self-care afterwards. So it's always really encouraging to see how it just takes one more person who can relate to you that can encourage you to do something that you've been really worried about. Another aspect of our community are our CLTs. We could not have camp without CLTs. So every family who comes to camp, they are paired with their own volunteer CLT. And so CLTs may or may not have pediatric experience. They may have decades of pediatric experience. They could be newly certified. We really believe that every CLT who is open-minded and flexible has the ability and the knowledge already to be a great pediatric CLT. It just takes a little bit of creativity and a good attitude to be able to do it. Our CLTs provide education sessions. So the curriculum that I've talked about already, we share that with our families. Parents get education separately from kids, and then the kiddos get kid-focused education, and oftentimes they are similar. So one example is that kids will go and learn self-MLD, so say belly breaths and short neck sequence, and then they'll come together with their parents because at the same time, their parents were learning either basic or advanced MLD techniques. And then we'll come together for about an hour, and parents will get to apply what they learned, and campers get to show their parents, hey, I can do a short neck sequence, or I can prep my regional lymph nodes, or whatever it is. We like to help them show what they've learned and also apply it quickly so that they are able to retain it and apply it that evening when they go into their treatments. A huge part of our camp, another reason we have camp is because of our sponsors' support. We have on-site demonstrations from some of our sponsors. They'll bring products for sampling and troubleshooting. Sometimes we'll have kids who have never been bandaged at camp. And so our sponsors provide bandaging supplies, they provide skincare items, all the things that we would need to be able to do some education and treatment on site. And so having their products on site to troubleshoot any of these stubborn areas is really important. And then we find that that's how the kiddos really get a chance to sample a lot of the different products that us as therapists, I didn't realize this till recently that we probably take for granted that we get to go to conferences like the NLN conference and walk through the vendors' booths and have like a show and tell basically on all of the products and the gadgets that are new. And, if you don't get to attend conferences very often, but you do have a vendor, your rep is going to come find you. But there's not very many reps, that are going around knocking on parents' doors and asking if they have a kid with lymphedema. And, these are the products we have that will help you. So sponsors being able to come on site and show their products and share with our families is a really big help. It also opens the eyes to our therapists who see products and they see it through the lens of this is for my adult population. And they don't see it how it could apply to kids. And so we have a great opportunity to partner with our sponsors. And that's one thing that I really appreciate about the ones who get to come and attend with us. Our special guests at camp, we have a medical trauma therapist who can present virtually. We often have some of the top rated surgeons presenting on the surgical interventions virtually. And so parents get to ask those questions in person, live at least via Zoom. And so they get feedback and information right there instead of us having to wait and like play email game or phone tag. And so a lot of our special guests really help to connect that gap in the community. And then lastly, which is one of the most fun things, are our family focused activities. Um, like I've mentioned, we have more parents coming, more couples coming. And every session, we have a parent support group where we open it up for parents to share their experience so far, any victories or challenges that they've had in the last year if they're a returning camper. And then we get to focus on, what's to come next. And then we have our daily group activities. This comes from we've always had activities, but group activities where parents and kids were together. We had a group one time that went zip lining, no, rock wall climbing, and they came back and one of the boys climbed at the top of the rock wall, and the mom was just so shocked. She didn't think that that was something that he would be comfortable doing or that he'd really even have the courage to do. And so it really hit us then that these are some of the activities that parents don't get the opportunity to see their kids do. So not only are these opportunities that kids wouldn't have most often if they weren't at camp, but the parents don't get to see them be kids either. So parents get to take off their caregiver hat. Their CLT is there. We are there. We've got their back, and they just get to be parent and kid, and they get to go have fun together. This is one of our um, families that's been coming since 2021. I'll just read this. I know I actually don't like to read things directly off my slides, but this is a quote from the Singer family. We call them the Super Singers. And I had asked for just if anyone wanted to share their story in this presentation, and they have a very touching one. The positive impact of Bryland's Feet Foundation at Camp Watch Me on our family has been profound. For a decade before attending camp, Dave did not wrap his legs due to various reasons. Our first CLT, Janelle, showed great patience and dedication in her attention to our son, who is the third generation affected by lymphedema. After witnessing the progress Hunter made during camp, Dave chose to set a good example and began wrapping his legs. For the past 4 years since then, he has been diligently wrapping on a daily basis, resulting in significant improvements. This is a really touching story because we all remember that when the Sanger families came in, and if you're a CLT watching this, you'll completely understand that you see a patient and you see someone and you go, I know I can help them. I know I have the tools to help them with that. And camp is intended for kids. It's their camp. It's their time to come learn about it. It's the parents' time to come learn about it. So she's right. Janelle was super patient. We didn't push the subject, but we collectively, I say we because Brittany, myself, Janelle, we were all eagerly waiting for the moment that Dave would ask. We didn't want to push the subject. We didn't want to offend him. So we really just were like, we're just waiting. We're just waiting. So he had gotten bandaged the last night of camp that summer. And so this is a picture from them in their room. They got bandaged together. They come every summer, and they have made family changes to promote a lower inflammation diet. They have more activity together, and they also are bandaging every night. So they're rolling bandages together, they're washing bandages together. And while, that can be a daunting task, it actually turns into a, a time of connection so that they have this shared goal to improve their health. And this is Dave with the updated picture from just the other week. And he sent it with a quote that said, I can't thank you guys enough. My life has changed in so many different ways since coming to camp. So we really, we really do want to focus on the whole family at camp, the whole family, the whole body, the whole person. We're not just throwing education at them and saying, here's a notebook, here's all your papers. We hope you have a great year, apply what you've learned. We send them with bandaging supplies. Our sponsors are so generous. They leave with newly measured garments, daytime and nighttime garments. We often have kiddos who can get pumps donated to them once all their paperwork and things are complete. And we have just so many therapists who throughout the year will keep in touch and provide information and ask and answer any questions that they might have if they're coming up against a challenge. So what's next for Camp Watch Me? Currently, we are completing and nearing publication for our retrospective study. And so the current data is really encouraging, and it shows a trend towards decreased volume in lower extremities in the mornings following compression bandaging, and a significant volume decrease just in a 4-day intense CDT, like phase one type treatment. And so we find that there isn't really much data out there that promotes a pediatric protocol. So textbooks, give varying guides. And then there's always a little disclaimer at the bottom that's like, talk to your physician about this or confirm this, and there's all these other things to be mindful of. And so we have seen this protocol be effective for years on end, and especially our families who carry this out at home and continue their bandaging weekly and stay, in with a therapist or maintaining their own self MLD. And so we really want to share what we've learned. Um, Coming up next will be starting our prospective study. So this summer we plan on changing some of our data intake and making it really concise so that with this current data we're seeing, we can improve and we can look forward to sharing all of the new information that we've made with the progress within the next 5 years. And then we continue to expand our curriculum and our on-site education. Like I mentioned already, each summer we update our curriculum to reflect current standards within the lymphedema community. And so being able to find new research, to share new discoveries, we want to be able to do that every summer and expand in that way. And one goal we have is to have an on-site medical trauma and family counselor. So having our nurse on site was really important and a necessary thing to do for the safety of our families. So we started with our nurse, and we're looking for bringing on a medical trauma and a family counselor that can attend to kind of help with our education sessions, building out our curriculum, and meeting with families on site. Not really for any medical advice in that moment, but kind of pointing in the right direction in the field that they're really familiar with. And I think this is just about the end of my presentation today. I would love for you guys, if any of the CLTs watching this and hearing about this are interested, come and join us. We have a whole lot of fun. And this summer, especially, we have plenty of openings left for volunteers to come and join us. And then this is just a picture. I've recreated this picture 3 or 4 summers now with little Martina. And the mountains there in Colorado are beautiful. So this is always one of my very favorite pictures to share. Thank you for your time today. Thank you for your interest in Camp Watch Me and what we're doing with Bryland's Feet Foundation. And if there is anyone, if there are any questions, Jennifer, I think we're good to take them now.
Okay, thank you so much, Betty.
Welcome.
So inspiring. I don't know how you tell some of these stories without tearing up because just watching some of those videos and listening to, the quotes and things, it's truly inspiring, and I would imagine very rewarding as a therapist and also just a person, right? So that's amazing. So yeah, if you do have any questions, please put it in the Q&A section or the chat, and we can get those answered. But I have a question for you. Do you have you ever or did you look at the Foldy Clinic at any point to see any similarities or base your program off of what they're doing in Germany?
So we have, Brittany and I have had a conversation by way of Gunter, if that makes any sense. So we have not been able to attend the Foldy Clinic, and we actually no longer, um, I don't know why I said no longer. We actually don't have like plans to attend this upcoming conference at Foldy Clinic, and we were really excited to maybe go in then. But through Gunter, we've had the conversation where Professor Foldy, we basically just said, "Hey, can you look over our protocol?" Um, I know the treatment at Foldy Clinic, and Brittany and I have a little bit more of a rigid approach than most parents and therapists even would for kids. And we've had, some criticism, I guess, in a way of it. And the Foldy Clinic was like, this is exactly what we do for our kids. And so when Gunter brought that back, we were like, okay, we're doing it the Foldy way. We knew we were on the right track. We were really excited to kind of get that feedback. So we we looked at um, really just the gaps, if that makes any sense. So when creating camp, I knew that there was a camp in Italy, and I had just maybe looked at the website and kind of gone, okay, they look like they're having fun. They look like they're learning. And then I came back and started writing it out. And as a therapist, I really focused on gaps of what are a lot of questions parents ask, and what what will help everyone understand this. So that's kind of where our focus went. And then luckily, with following like standards and evidence-based practice, it did line up with the Foldy Clinic.
That's great. That's great. Yeah, I mean, it seems very similar in terms of what you're doing with, bandaging, MLD, exercise, education. So it sounds like a great program. So we have a question. Would a parent of an infant 5 months old benefit from camp, or is there a minimum age recommended? And also, I'm curious if there's a maximum age.
Yes. So camp is intended for kiddos who are 5 years old to technically 18 is the cutoff, but we say 17 because you have to be, there's like a date in there. We, for everybody's safety and, you know, comfort, we don't want a whole bunch of 18-year-olds coming to camp and it being uncomfortable for anyone who's younger than that or any parents or anything. So 5 months old is actually a great age for our play retreat. And so I saw there in the chat that Brittany had responded, and I can expand on this at another time. But um, Bryland's Feet has a for-profit called Pediatric Lymphedema Alliance. We call it Play. And our play retreat is intended for families just like this to bring the mom and dad and the child. And it's more of a laid back retreat where we hang out, we learn about these basics so that they can start their journey with evidence-based information, the best practices, and kind of prepare them so that they're not out there just wandering around trying to figure it out from, in this case, 5 months to 5 years old. So we had a lot of families, and we had even tried with some kiddos. We started out camp being at the age of 3, but camp is hard because we're up early and we're up late. I mean, we're up early or in bed late, and it's just a lot of education. And it's hard for like a 3 or 4 year old to kind of comprehend all of that. So we do have an option for a 5 month old, but camp ages are 5 to 18.
Is there a link or anything that we can put in the chat for that information?
Of course.
Super.
I think Brittany is watching, and if she doesn't get to it before I do, um, I will add that in there.
Sure. Someone would like to know where would a person find the dates for this summer? Is it always at the same place?
Great question. This is our first summer to move in since 2021. So we're actually going to be in Zimbro Falls, Minnesota this summer. It's about 25 minutes outside of the Mayo Clinic, that Rochester area. And we will be having camp June 19th through the 29th. Unfortunately, this summer our sessions are all full already. We've already booked up. We're just about 3 months out now. 3 months out today, actually. And so our new registration usually opens up in November. So if you follow any of our social media outlets or our website, in November, the registration for next summer will open, and you can go ahead and sign up there whenever it opens, and all the information will be there. And I see that, yes, Brittany did just put that link in there for us. Thank you.
Yes, absolutely. I'm curious, because the age goes up to 18, have you ever seen or treated kids with lipedema, starting showing signs or symptoms of that?
We have not. So one of the documents that we have to have families provide is a proof of diagnosis. And Bryland's Feet Foundation is a pediatric lymphedema organization. And so, kind of one of our board appointed standards is that we have to have a proof of diagnosis for primary or secondary lymphedema. And to my knowledge, up to the age of 18, we have not had anyone come with lipolymphedema. Um, or anything really related to it. We have plenty of secondary lymphedema to vascular malformations and things like that and other vascular anomalies. But no, not lipedema related that I'm aware of.
Okay, just curious. Great. And if anybody has any questions, do you have an email that you'd be willing to share
I
with the
do. I can put that here in the um, chat.
Great. So, when is this going to be your full-time job? Just open
It's
up a clinic.
it's unofficially my full-time job. And I am actually in the process. Funny you should say open a clinic. I'm actually going back to school right now because I'm going to apply to our physician assistant program because I do want to open a clinic. And Brittany and I have talked for years about wanting to open a pediatric clinic to do the Foley approach here in the United States. And we have a lot of great, hospitals, children's hospitals, and other resources. Um, that help these families get their diagnosis, and we want to help them get to the treatment and the long-term management as well. So we do have hopes to have some type of clinic. I'm going back to school to pursue that. So we'll see. Technically, camp is already my full-time job. It's just one of my jobs. There's just, you can't see them. There's like 7 invisible hats right here, but that's it.
No, that's great. That's great. And then my last question is, if someone wanted to make a donation or support the camp or Brown's Feet in any way that they can't do it physically, how would they do that?
Right. So if you're not in a place to, physically come and join us at camp or volunteer any of those ways, we have through our website, you could follow the same link that is to Camp Watch Me, and it'll take you to our BFF page, and there's going to be a donate button there. And so you can donate in that way. We have an annual fundraiser. And so if you were to participate in the fundraiser by either having your own team, so maybe if you're a clinician or, you're a manager of a clinic of some sort, or just a sponsor, someone interested in it, you could host a team and get donations that way and help to contribute to the fundraiser. But we do honestly, we appreciate any of the support, any of the word of mouth, because that's really the best way is that whenever a parent comes into the clinic or a physician is calling and looking like, hey, do you treat pediatrics? Even if for whatever reasons, like if your clinic or hospital won't allow you to treat someone under a certain age, please point them to the BFF direction. And so we can get them plugged in and even find a therapist in their area that would potentially be able to see them. Or um, a conversation for another day is BFF offers virtual consultations for our recipients. And so there's a way to kind of help out there. And so those donations would help with all of that, come back to it too.
Great, great. Well, amazing presentation, amazing camp and foundation. Really just a huge part of the lymphatic community. So thank you so much to you, to Brittany, and to everyone that is involved on a regular basis. Just a little side note, the NLN does have a garment program. So if any of our clinicians are members of the NLN, we do offer free compression garments for patients as well. So if anybody is looking and have exhausted all other channels, we do offer that as well. So again, thank you so much, Betty. Appreciate your time and expertise and all the things that you do.
Thank
So
you.
everyone have a wonderful afternoon and happy Lymphedema Awareness Month. Take care.
Thank you. Bye.